This world is full of suffering. Oh yes, there's so much pain, but there is a solution. I tell you time and time again, there is a way to ease all of your suffering, and there is a way to cast away your pain. There is a way, and I want to share this with you.
In his whole life, spent his whole life trying to get human rights and dignity of life for all. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a really remarkable program for you, and we have contribution from Dr. Ron Daniels, the President of Ghana, the Right Honorable Adodo, and Marcus Garvey's son, Dr. Julius Garvey. And they have a remarkable contribution to this event, and it will be an inspiring and entertaining afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. So please tune in and once again, enjoy. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Ron Daniels, President of the Institute of the Black World 21st Century, convener of the Pan-African Unity Dialogue, and convener of the National African American Reparations Commission. Marcus Mosiah Garvey was the greatest mass organizer in the history of Black people. 100 years ago today, he convened the first international convention of the Negro peoples of the world in Harlem. Where else? The capital of Black America. It drew some 3,000 delegates, and it also included a rally at Madison Square Garden that packed that arena with 25,000 people in 1920. There was no email. There was no Facebook. There was no Twitter. There was no Snapchat. There was no Instagram. It was just the African drumbeat drawing people to this great event. Aware of this phenomenal occasion, the Institute of the Black World 21st Century has declared 2020 the year of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. The purpose for this occasion is to commemorate this milestone international convention of the Negro people of the world as a tribute to the life and legacy of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Marcus Garvey was a spellbinding orator whose philosophy and opinions inspired and motivated millions of Black people to act. So now let's listen to the voice of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey.
Fellow citizens of Africa, I greet you in the name of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League of the World. You may ask, what organization is that? It is for me to inform you that the Universal Negro Improvement Association is an organization that seeks to unite into one solid body the 400 million Negroes of the world, to link up the 15 million Negroes of the United States of America with the 20 million Negroes of the West Indies, the 40 million Negroes of South and Central America, with the 280 million Negroes of Africa, for the purpose of bettering our industrial, commercial, educational, social, and political conditions. As you are aware, the world in which we live today is divided into separate race groups and distinct nationalities. Each race and each nationality is endeavoring to work out its own destiny to the exclusion of other races and other nationalities. We hear the cry of England for the Englishman, of France for the Frenchman, of Germany for the German, of Ireland for the Irish, of Palestine for the Jew, of Japan for the Japanese, of China for the Chinese. We of the Universal Negro Improvement Association are raising the cry of Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad. There are 400 million Africans in the world who have Negro blood coursing through their veins. And we believe that the time has come to unite these 400 million people for the one common purpose of bettering their conditions. The great problem of the Negro for the last 500 years has been that of disunity. No one or no organization ever succeeded in uniting the Negro race. But within the last 4 years, the Universal Negro Improvement Association has worked wonders in bringing together in one fold 4 million organized Negroes who are scattered in all parts of the world, being in the 48 states of the American Union, all the West Indian Islands, and the countries of South and Central America and Africa. These 4 million people are working to convert the rest of the 400 million scattered all over the world. And it is for this purpose that we are asking you to join our ranks and to do the best you can to help us to bring about an emancipated race. If anything praiseworthy is to be done, it must be done through unity. And it is for that reason that the Universal Negro Improvement Association calls upon every Negro in the United States to rally to its standards. We want to unite the Negro race in this country. We want every Negro to work for one common object, that of building a nation of his own on the great continent of Africa. That all Negroes all over the world are working for the establishment of a government in Africa means that it will be realized in another few years. We want the moral and financial support of every Negro to make the dream a possibility. Already, this organization has established itself in Nigeria, West Africa, and is endeavoring to do all possible to develop that Negro country to become a great industrial and commercial commonwealth. Pioneers have been sent by this organization to Nigeria, and they are now laying the foundations upon which the 400 million Negroes of the world will build. If you believe that the Negro has a soul, if you believe that the Negro is a man, if you believe the Negro was endowed with the senses commonly given to other men by the Creator, then you must acknowledge that what other men have done, Negroes can do. We want to build up cities, nations, governments, industries of our own in Africa, so that we'll be able to have a chance to rise from the lowest to the highest positions in the African Commonwealth.
When I am dead, wrap the mantle of the red, the black, and the green around me, for in the new life I shall rise up with God's grace and blessing to lead the millions up the heights and the triumph that you well know. Look for me in a world when there is storm. Look for me all around you, for with God's grace I shall come back with countless millions of black men and women who have died in America, those who have died in the West Indies, and those who have died in Africa to aid you in the fight for liberty, freedom, and life. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. Any leadership that teaches you to depend upon another race is a leadership that will enslave you. They gave leadership to our foreparents, and that leadership made them slaves. But we have decided to find a leadership of our own to make ourselves free men. Our great scholars have inspired through the colleges, the universities, have thrown away the blessed record. Babylon did it. Assyria did it. France under Napoleon did it. Germany under Prince von Bismarck did it. England under America under George Washington did it. Africa with 400 million black people can do it. If you cannot do it, if you are not prepared to do it, then you will die. You race of cowards. You race of imbeciles, you race of good for nothing. If you cannot do what other men have done, what other nations have done, what other races have done, then you had better die. Can we do it? We can do it. We shall do it. We have prayed to God for vision and for leadership. And He has given us our universal vision. A vision that will not limit our possibilities to America. A vision that will not limit our possibilities to the West Indies, but a vision that said there must be a free and redeemed Africa. Christ the crucified, Christ the despised. We appeal to you for help, for succor, for leadership. When you endeavor to carry your burden up the heights of Calvary, when white men scorned you, when white men scorned you, when white men spat upon you, when white men pierced your side out of which blood and water gushed forth, it was a black man in the name of Simon the Syrian who took your cross and bore it up the heights of Calvary. And now that we are bearing our burden as being so heavy, we just ask that you just help us on up the heights. Oh yes, the cause is grand, the cause is glory. Surely we shall not turn back. Oh, sail on, sail on, sail on, oh mighty ship of state, sail on until the flag of the red, the black, and the green is perched upon the hilltops of Africa. Because the time must come for the black man to forget his hero worship of other races and to create and emulate heroes of his own. We must canonize our own saints, create our own martyrs, and elevate the positions of fame and honor black men and women who have made a distinct contribution to our racial history. Sojourner Truth is worthy of a place of sainthood alongside of Joan of Arc. Crispus Attucks and George William Gordon are entitled to the halo of martyrdom with no less glory than the martyrs of any other race. Toussaint Louverture's brilliancy as a soldier or a statesman outshone that of any other people, hence he's entitled to the highest place as a hero among men.
Wow, what a powerful voice. The life and legacy of Marcus Garvey inspired artists, musicians, and cultural workers across generations, including hip-hop. You know, I have been promoting the position that August 17th, the birthday of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, should be Universal African Flag Day. And on that day, at least once a year, and it should be flown all the time, we should see thousands upon thousands, even millions of red, black, and green flags and windows and on flag poles and being displayed everywhere. We need to re-educate people about the red, black, and green flag. So display your flag on August 17th, the birthday of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Marcus Garvey and the UNIA had a huge impact on emerging Pan-African leaders around the world, including Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of Ghana, who actually placed the black star in the flag of the nation. Nkrumah positioned Ghana to become a major force for Pan-Africanism, not only in Africa, but throughout the world. So it is entirely appropriate that on this occasion, we now hear from the current president of Ghana, who is a son of Nkrumah and a son of Marcus Garvey, the Honorable Nana Akufo-Addo, president of Ghana.
Fellow Africans and citizens of the world, if there is one country in Africa, and indeed in the entire world, which has been influenced by the life and work of Marcus Garvey, it must be Ghana. The first president of our nation, the man who led us in the final phase of our battle for freedom, the legendary Kwame Nkrumah, was a self-confessed apostle of Marcus Garvey and fell under his guidance during his student days in the United States of America in the 1930s. The first national shipping line of our country was named by him the Black Star Line, in deliberate emulation of the Black Star Line, the shipping line established by Marcus Garvey in 1919 to assist in the repatriation of Africans in the United States to their homeland in Africa, and to be the vehicle of trade between the two continents. Again, the proud national flag of our country has the Black Star as its centerpiece. Ghana's debt to Marcus Garvey is thus inescapable. Today, we're gathered all across the world to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the holding of Marcus Garvey's Convention of the Negro Peoples of the World in New York. At that seminal event, the Declaration of Rights of the Negro Peoples of the World was adopted. There can be little doubt about the impetus of the struggle for decolonization and independence that this convention provided. Indeed, the convention, whose 100th anniversary we are commemorating, was one of the critical events in the unfolding emergence of the Pan-African movement. A century on, the vision of an Africa free from colonialism, which was one of the main objects of the holding of the convention, has effectively been realized, and the continent must always remain thankful for its intervention. But I have no doubt that Marcus Garvey, and indeed the 2,000 delegates who attended the convention, wanted more than just to fulfill the dreams of political freedom and independence of their peoples, important as that was. The promise implicit in the drive for liberation was that freedom would inspire the rapid enhancement of the quality of life of the African peoples, and indeed of all black people around the world, and banish the specter of mass poverty bequeathed to the African peoples by the long period of colonial exploitation. Alas, that has not happened for a variety of reasons, some of which do not do us credit. Be that as it may, our generation has an opportunity to rededicate ourselves towards attaining the goals of guaranteeing the liberties and freedoms of the African peoples, employing the immeasurable wealth of Africa to satisfy the needs of the African peoples by resisting the continuous exploitation of her resources by external agencies, eradicating mass poverty in Africa, and promoting the prosperity, dignity, and unity of the African peoples. The name of Marcus Garvey will continue to bear testimony to the necessity of the African peoples on both sides of the Atlantic coming together in mutual solidarity to advance the interests and objectives of black people everywhere in the world. We should never forget the immemorial words of the great Jamaican reggae musician, Peter Tosh, who said, "Don't care where you come from. If you are black, you are an African." I'm an incurable optimist and believe in our capacity to reach these goals. And in doing so, I'm comforted by the words again of Marcus Garvey when he said, "The black skin is not a badge of shame, but rather a glorious symbol of national greatness." I am confident we in Africa, and indeed all black peoples across the world, can achieve the greatness which our forefathers, with Marcus Garvey in the vanguard, dreamt of, and for which some paid the ultimate sacrifice, if we work together. We can do it. May God continue to bless Marcus Mosiah Garvey, Mother Africa, and us all. I thank you for your attention and wish you a successful teleforum.
Thank you so much, President Adu. Now for the highlight of this amazing commemoration, I would like to introduce Dr. Julius Garvey, the son of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. He's a retired physician, he's a humanitarian, and a global, he is a global Pan-Africanist. We'd like to have him come now and deliver the keynote address for the day. Take it away, Dr. Julius Garvey.
I would like to thank Ron for that marvelous introduction. Thank you very much, Ron. My father was born in 1887, just a few years after the Berlin Conference, which was the beginning of colonialism. So he was at the crossroads of history of that time. I'd like to focus on some essentials of my father's message to African people. First, there was a sense of identity. African people had the longest history and culture of all peoples and could be justly proud of that. They created the first civilizations in Africa, which were the prototypes of all others. Only recently in world history were we brought down from our pinnacle of civilization and enslaved. Notwithstanding European propaganda, we were not subhuman, but we were once great and could be great again. As he said, history is the landmark by which we are directed into the true course of life. The history of a movement, of a nation, of a race is the guidepost of that movement's destiny. So we must know our history and our past accomplishments, and that will give us the strength and courage to accomplish even more. As he said, a people without a knowledge of their origins, history, and culture is like a tree without roots. Second was self-reliance. We do not need to depend on others for our own development, but must use our own intelligence and creative genius to solve the problems that we currently face and to determine our own agenda and hence our destiny. He said, man is the individual who is able to shape his own character, master his own will, direct his own life, and shape his own ends. Man is therefore the architect of his own fate and master of his own destiny. For man to know himself is for him to feel that he has no human master. For him, nature is his servant, and whatsoever he wills in nature, that shall be his reward. Then he shall be his own sovereign. Third was unity and nationhood. A united people with a strong sense of identity had to have land where they could develop according to their own idealism. This was the basis of nationhood. He said, nationhood is the only means by which modern civilization can completely protect itself. Independence of nationality, independence of government, is the means of protecting not only the individual, but the group. Nationhood is the highest ideal of all peoples. This is what he wants for African people. This Pan-African nation had to have a land base in Africa, hence his Liberia project of 1921. It is only through nationhood that African people could be supported, developed, and protected globally. As he said in his poem in 1927, "Hail, United States of Africa, free. Hail, motherland most bright, divinely fair. State in perfect sisterhood united. Born of truth, mighty thou shalt ever be." Fourth, only through a strong economic base could the above ideological framework be carried out. He said, every student of economics knows that the race can only be saved through a solid industrial foundation. Take away industry from a race, take away political freedom from a race, and you have a group of slaves. A race that is solely dependent upon another for its economic existence, sooner or later dies. Africans, wherever they were, therefore, A, had to be in control of their resources and the means of production, and B, Africans needed to constitute a trading bloc made up of those on the continent and those in the diaspora. Hence, the Black Star Line shipping company, joining together 400 million Africans of that period. Today, of course, we number 2.1 billion, with 300 million in the Caribbean and the Americas. We also need to control the means of transportation and the means of communication with each other. Fifth, only those who had mastered the physical and psychological sciences would be able to prosper and dominate competitively in the future. Therefore, education of all ages and in all locations was paramount. He said, the battles of the future, whether they are physical or mental, will be fought on scientific lines. And the race that is able to produce the highest scientific development is the race that will ultimately rule. The significant caveat for African people was that spirituality had to control the knowledge of and use of scientific developments. That was the only way, he said, to combat the evils of modern scientific materialism. So we had to liberate our minds from mental slavery, because whilst others can free the body, none but ourselves can free the mind. Sixth, one had to apply these principles pragmatically, depending on time and place and using one's creative genius. A host of solutions were put forth in the early 20th century that were needed at that time. The weekly newspaper, The Negro World, published continuously from 1919 to 1933, the largest Negro weekly in the USA and in the world. B, the Negro Factories Corporation, employing over 1,000 people in New York City alone. See, the Black Star Line had 4 ships in all at the time, when shipping was the means of transportation for raw materials, manufactured goods, and moving people worldwide. D, the Black Cross nurses. E, the African Orthodox Church, the African Legion, and other paraphernalia of a nation. The African Communities League was the business arm of the UNIA, and as such was to provide the economic basis for the needs of African people and the organization, which was essentially a nation in exile. Capital, a business enterprise, and the nation had to have a different relationship than was extant in the capitalist and communist countries at that time. All the businesses were social enterprises in that they were created from innovative ideas and arrangements to solve current social problems and provide for sustainable social transformations. The corporation is therefore not only a commercial vehicle, but a means of creating social and public goods. As such, it needs to be responsive to national interest and not just individual greed and shareholder profit. Whether an individual entrepreneur or a corporation, the emphasis had to be on cooperation and community. 7th, Garveyism represented a way of life that did not separate the spiritual from the secular, and therefore represented an integrated view of man, and indeed a new African humanism based on the father-motherhood of God and the brother-sisterhood of woman and man. God was a formless, a permanent spiritual force that created the universe and everything in it, and was both immanent and transcendent simultaneously. Thus, he created the pharaonic theocratic principles that was the gift of Kemet to the socio-political order of the nation state. 8th, in order to discuss our image God, one had to resort to anthropomorphism. Each race, ethnic group, or cultural entity could picture God in his own image. This was necessary to make God universal love and human transformation towards perfection relevant to a specific time and place and people on the material plane. Garvey thus wrestled God away from the white race and gave her to everybody. Garveyism was a philosophy, theology, psychology, and socio-political action plan, and as such is timeless and can be applied by all peoples in any location. 10th, Marcus Garvey died in 1940, but Garvey's brand of Pan-Africanism was resurgent by 1945 at the Manchester Conference in England, and effectively was transferred to continental Africa by Kwame Nkrumah, Jomo Kenyatta, Patrice Lumumba, Julius Nyerere, Nelson Mandela, and others who have all attested to Garvey's thinking and development of African consciousness. In the United States, Garvey is the father of all nationalist movements. El-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz, Malcolm X, was his most direct ideological disciple. His parents were both members of the Garvey movement. His influence as anti-colonial champion and on all political independence movements in the Caribbean is well known. He's Jamaica's first and most popular national hero. His bust rests in a prominent position in the Hall of Heroes of the Organization of American States in Washington, D.C., next to Simon Bolivar. That Marcus Garvey never set foot in Africa is well known. However, my mother, his widow, Amy Jakes Garvey, was invited by the government of Nigeria to attend the independence ceremonies and the installation of Dr. Nandi Azikiwe of Governor General in November 1960. This was a tribute to the memory of Marcus Garvey, whom Dr. Azikiwe considered a mentor. She then went on to Ghana as a guest of the government and was honored there. She met Haile Selassie, the Emperor of Ethiopia, King of Kings, elect of God and Lion of Judah. The Emperor conferred on Dr. Nkrumah the exalted order of the Queen of Sheba, and he in turn conferred on the Emperor the exalted order of the Star of Africa, the Black Star. Looking back on the last 500 years of European expansion, we recognize our enslavement as being the uncompensated labor that created the industrial age. We see the Berlin Conference of 1884-85 that turned us into colonies where raw materials were harvested for the manufacturing companies in the metropole. However, very few of us recognize the Bretton Woods Conference of July 1944 as the foundation of the New World Order that established the IMF, the World Bank, and subsequently the World Trade Organization, that designed the current global corporatization that is responsible for the greatest inequality of wealth distribution in the history of the world. Globalization, AKA neocolonialism. So as we seek reparative justice for the atrocities committed against us, we must seek to transform the IMF, the World Bank, the WTO, the United Nations, and those structures that undergird current European hegemony over African peoples. The stereotypical Eurocentric model, based on a falsification of history and self-congratulatory propaganda, has to be discarded for our own civilization model of the factual origin of mankind in Africa and the added facts that we humanize and civilize the world. In order to change our perception of ourselves and how others see us, we must write our own story, collaborate, and build permanent ties to create the economic backbone of the future of Africa and Africans at home and abroad. CARICOM and the African diaspora has to be integrated into the AU as its sixth region. We must create and own the means to develop and publish relevant content using TV, radio, smartphones, internet, websites, social media, search engine optimization, and fintech to transact commerce. This is the new communication apparatus that we must own to be successful now and in the future. Marcus Garvey used his voice and a newspaper to communicate and network with 15 million people in a short 5 years. 100 years ago, Marcus Garvey knew that international commerce was conducted via the seas, so he created the Black Star Line Shipping Company. While with all of this technology at our disposal, we can build on that legacy and do more in a shorter period of time, linking 2.1 billion people into a Pan-African network of communication, trade, and commerce. I will close by quoting Frank Hill in the Daily Gleaner, 17th of August, 1960. He states in part, "What makes a man great? It is, I think, the universal quality of the contribution he makes to the civilization of his time. The accent is on the word universal, but the quality of his vision must be such as to be able to hold the attention of mankind rather than mere isolated pockets of men grouped in special circumstances." I agree with the attestation of Frank Hill to Garvey's greatness in that he laid the foundation for the redemption of Africa and the establishment of African humanism as the new paradigm that will move the world towards peace, prosperity, and a true democracy. This is his legacy to us. The ball is in our court. Let us not fumble it anymore, but move the ball forward. As Kwame Nkrumah said, forward ever, backward never. And as Marcus Garvey himself said, up you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Garvey. I'm certain your father is proud of you. He's looking down saying, the fruit don't fall too far from the tree. You have done a great job of continuing the legacy of your father. Thank you so much for joining us.
One
wherever you are, we hope you've been having a good time and getting some inspiration from the Struggle 100-year celebration. So here we go. This one is brand new. First ever performance.
One God, one name, one destiny. One God, one name, one destiny.
Let justice be done to all mankind.
In this time,
If the strong oppresses the weak, yeah, confusion and discontent will forever mark the path of man. But with love, faith, and charity for all, yeah, peace will reign. Let it rain. Peace will reign. Let it rain. Peace must reign. Money in abundance, only at the top. Money in abundance, but none are drop. Trickle it a trickle, but we can't get none. Trickle it a trickle, but we can't get none. Why? We can't get the blind. Why? No matter how we try, let it trickle down. We can't get the blind. Let it trickle down. We can't get the blind. Why? We can't get the blind. Why? No matter how we try, let it trickle down. Yeah. Let it trickle down. Yeah.
I can only hope and pray.
on, dig